Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Arna Sahu, host of Arna's News, where on this podcast channel, I aim to eliminate the gender gap in the STEM fields by featuring inspiring female professionals and highlighting their stories and accomplishments to further encourage girls. Today, on episode 55,
is find mentors. Find people who have gone through what you're going maybe and can be your sounding board when you have things, when you face issues, or when you have to make decisions, when you're unsure. I think that's a very good asset, especially as you begin your career, or even as a student when you don't know what you want to be yet. Finding good mentors is very, very important. So I think this is one thing I think everybody should try to do.
Today on episode 55, I'm pleased to announce our guest, Dr. Magdalini Eirinaki. She is a professor at the Computer Engineering Department of the College of Engineering at San Jose State University, also serving as the program director of the MS in Artificial Intelligence program. Her research interests span a broad range of machine learning, data mining, social graph mining, recommender systems, and deep learning applications. Also publishing several papers in refereed journals and international conference proceedings, she currently serves as the general chair of IEEE BDS 2023, the steering committee of the Silicon Valley Women in Engineering Conference Series, previously serving as guest editor, organization committee member, program committee member, and reviewer in numerous conferences and journals. So thank you so much, Magdalini, for being here today. Before we dive into the questions, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. I think you covered everything in your short introduction. My name is Magdalini Eirinaki. I'm a professor at San Jose State University. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a great, this podcast is a great idea, and I'm very honored to be part of it.
Thank you. So my first question for you is tell us a bit about your career path.
Sure. So I will start a bit early. So back when I was a kid, I was not born in the US. I was born in Greece. My dad is a civil engineer and my mom was a designer in his office. So I guess I was helping them a lot as a kid growing up. I didn't know internet back there. So we spent a lot of time in the office with them. And I also have an uncle who was among the first people who were into the computer science field in Greece. So he was always teasing me with puzzles, logic books. So I was always a bit inclined in STEM. I didn't know what I want to be. Informatics, computer science was not big back then. Not many people even owned the computer. But when the time came to decide what program, what college I want to go to in Greece, it's a bit different from the US in that you give some exams, same exams with everyone else, and then you have to give a ranked choice of schools, and then wherever you make the cutoff, that's where you end up. There is no change of majors, there is no change of minds. It is what it is. So you have to be very careful with your ranking. So I talked to all these people in my life and decided to start with computer science departments. It was a new department back then. I kind of date myself now. So we decided to do that. I did well. I entered one of those programs, and soon after I finished my undergraduate degree, I pursued a master's degree. I got a scholarship and went to Imperial College in London for that. I had enough in my scholarship to last me a PhD, but I decided to come back. I just didn't like life back there, and I decided to start working. So I worked for about a year as a software engineer in a big company, but I felt something was missing. I felt I was getting bored. It wasn't very challenging, so I decided to go back to school and pursue a PhD. So my PhD is in the area of the title back then was New Approaches to Web Personalization. I guess it's ubiquitous now, but it was a very hot topic back then. Personalization, recommender systems. I still find it really exciting, actually. Towards the end of my PhD, my life situation had changed, so I moved to the US to be with my future husband, then fiance, future husband. So that was a big life change. Soon after that, I worked for a year in R&D projects and also as a lecturer at UC Santa Cruz. And then soon after that, I interviewed and I got offer from San Jose State to be an assistant professor there. And I accepted that, and that's the past 15 years I've been with them. So not many changes for the past 15 years.
No, I mean, I love that because that was kind of shocking to me when your uncle was like the first person in like the computer industry in Greece. That's super cool. But, regardless of where you were or what you were doing, you always thrived in your passions and you knew that there was something that was waiting out for you. And, you kind of tried to achieve that. And here you are today, smiling with your face.
Yeah, that's true. And unfortunately, the situation has not changed a lot. Still, girls are not, it's not the first choice to go into computer science. Unfortunately, so many years later, it is the same. It was even worse back then. But yeah, I'm very thankful that he said, hey, this might be a good profession, the profession of the future. So I followed that and I really loved it.
Yeah, and my next question for you is what advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a career similar to yours? And do you have any tips to succeed?
Okay, so let me start in general with computer science, because I know your podcast is about STEM, so it covers many different areas. So let me talk a bit about computer science or software engineering. This is a profession that you will have to be a lifelong learner. It with things change so fast, the last few years even faster than before, that it's really hard to keep up, and you have to keep up to be current in your job. From programming languages to, as we've seen now, what happens with neural networks in the last few months, what has happened with large language models. It just goes so fast that even I have trouble keeping up. This is our life. So this is one thing, somebody who wants to get into this field, it's not a dead area. You have to, it changes really, really fast. So you have to really love learning. That being said, the best advice I have, and this is what advice I give to my students, is don't get carried away by what is hot topic at the moment. Focus on the fundamentals, because things change, but the fundamentals remain the same. So focus on your math, focus on your algebra, focus on data structure and algorithms, for example, the very basics of what you're learning. These remain the same. Maybe the packaging changes, but if you don't have that fundamental, that solid foundation, it will be much harder to keep up. Maybe you will learn, people can follow a seminar and learn something, but then you're not as flexible. So I guess that would be the two pieces of advice for CS in general. For academia and a professor, I would say, first of all, if you want to be in the tenure track, become a professor eventually, these positions require a PhD. So that should be part of your plan. And to get a PhD, it is like a job, but it's like a self-guided job. You're pretty much on your own. You're your own boss, setting your own deadlines. It is not for everyone. It is very, very different from any other thing you might be doing. But definitely, if this is something that you'd love, you get the opportunity to even teach as a PhD student often, and you get to see if this is something you want. And of course, many people get a PhD and they end up in the industry, which is fine. There is a path to teaching, even in the university without a PhD, as an adjunct or maybe as a lecturer. So there's that opportunity for those who might have a master's degree. It's just not the tenure line. So that would be one thing if you're planning your trajectory, and I guess everybody knows that that's something to add to your bullet list of things to do. And I guess the second thing is for academia again, it's not something you will do to be rich. And I'm saying that because my profession industry, we are in Silicon Valley, everybody, it's a very good paying job. Even our graduates, their first job is really, really high paying. It's not the same for professors. And it's the same as in instructors, any type of instructor, teachers, school teachers. Nobody's doing this to become rich. We're doing it because we love being with students, we love changing lives, we love teaching, we love research. So it's different objectives, very fulfilling, but something that maybe people, I'm saying that because we interview people for faculty positions, and for some of them, when they hear the offer, they get a bit discouraged. So it's good to know upfront that it's not going to make you rich.
No, I mean, I really loved what you said about, the hottest topic might be there, like, what's happening right now in AI and ML, but you should always focus on the fundamentals. And I feel like that kind of deters a lot of people, especially beginners, because they feel like, oh my gosh, there's this new hot topic, but everybody else who's probably looking at that hot topic has probably been very experienced in that. So if you don't know the fundamentals or the basics of something and you try to get into something that's really big and advanced, that's probably going to hinder your progress and you're not going to enjoy what you're doing. I can speak from that from experience because I used to be that type of person who would try to go through every single type of language, but never really get the fundamentals when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it will take you to some point, but not further than that. And especially as a professional later on, you will hit a ceiling sooner than later. So yeah, I think that's a good thing, not only for computer science. Honestly, it's for all STEM disciplines pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Do
just
your
yeah,
math.
no, like, yeah, no, because you have to kind of like focus on like the basics because I mean, it's something that you learn in math. You have everything builds up on top of each other. So if you don't focus on what's on the fundamentals, then everything else is going to be shaky along the way.
Right, exactly. And one thing that I found, maybe now you do computer science at school, and maybe everybody's a bit more exposed, but for me as a young student, first semester student, and pretty much my first year was just math, and I was, aren't we here in the computer science department? Why are we doing math? But yeah, you have to go through math for computer science. Very hard to describe to people, but it's also the algorithmic way of thinking and all of that. It's very important.
Yeah. And my next question for you is what is a common myth about your profession that you want to debunk?
Okay, so that's a favorite topic. So I don't know if it's a myth, but I feel that some people think that being a professor reduces to showing up for the lecture for these 2 hours twice a week or 3 times a week, maybe prep for an hour or so before that, and show up for office hours, and that's it. And the truth is far from that. Teaching is probably the very small part of our week. Prepping, of course, takes a lot of time, especially in computer science, because things change so fast. I have to change maybe a 10% of my class every semester just because there is new content related that I have to update. And then you have to prepare engaging activities, you have to grade, all of that related to teaching. There's much more effort related to that. And on top of that, we also do research, we do meetings with students, we write papers. And then on top of that, there is a big service component being a professor that people wouldn't know. There is a lot of committee work. Most of the things that happen within a department or a college happen because of professors who participate in committees and help to make decisions. So this takes a bit amount of our time. And then all of us also have service to our profession. So for example, we review papers, we participate in conferences, and things like that. So it is way more than just teaching a class for 2 hours. That's one myth. Um, and then on the other end, I guess another thing that maybe some people feel that professors, oh, they're university professors, somebody, I feel very intimidated of talking to somebody like that, maybe feeling that they're unapproachable or very smart and they will not talk to me. I don't know. Which is not the case. Maybe it is the case for some people, maybe the very famous or very senior people, but we are doing this because we like interacting with people and we love talking to students. So definitely come and say hi, talk to your professors, don't be shy. They're there to help you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that go on behind the covers. Like a lot of people think that in academia, it just, oh, you just have to show up and take classes and just grade. But there's like a lot of things that just go on behind the works because, your accomplishments are, doing a bunch of research and, probably reviewing a bunch of papers. So that's a lot of work there. But, there's like a lot of interaction and things that not a lot of people see. And especially in STEM, I think that there's a lot more work because everything is always changing. Um, but um, a lot of people say that or think that, professors or people in academia are really hard to approach. But as you just said, people love interacting with others. So that is a very common myth that has just been destigmatized.
Yeah, and especially more junior faculty members. I mean, we were students once as well, so yeah, don't be afraid to talk to your teachers and your professors alike. Yeah,
Yeah, because everybody just wants to help you. Yeah.
exactly.
And if you could step into my shoes or a younger self, what would you have asked yourself that I didn't?
And I have a couple of things that I figured out eventually, and I'm still figuring out, but I wish I kind of changed earlier in my career. So one would be uh, step out of my comfort zone and don't be afraid to speak. I'm I was very shy as a kid and as a student and even as a young professor, a young assistant professor. Even then, I would sit on the side and be afraid to say my opinion or speak up because other people were talking. Um, and and I actually read there is research, and I know you're addressing mostly females. There is research that females will not speak unless they're 100% sure that what they will say is correct, versus most males that don't want to generalize will say something even if they're not very sure about it. They will just open their mouth and say that. Advice is don't wait until you're 100% sure. Just say what you're thinking, and nobody will punish you for not being correct. It's okay to be wrong sometimes. It's just better to step out of your comfort zone and do things that you don't feel 100% sure or confident about. And then the second thing I would give as advice to myself, and I'm still giving this advice because I'm still not very good at it, is to not be afraid to say no. So when people ask you to do things, sometimes we have to set limits. Sometimes we have to set our life balance or our work balance and prioritize. Again, we as females feel that we need to serve and we need to keep everyone happy and we need to fix things and do things right and pick up things that others might not do very well, and we get trapped. And if you start doing things well, you get asked doing more things and more things and more things. And I've been a victim of that myself. I mean, I've been doing that to myself a lot. I'm still doing it. I'm just trying to control it a bit more. So don't be afraid to say no. Just whenever you get overwhelmed, don't add more. Just prioritize, think what is good for you, what you would enjoy more. And some things it's okay to say no. Nobody will blame you for that. I think that's one big thing I'm still struggling with, but I'm working on it.
No, I mean, I 100% agree with the 2 points you just said because I used to be an incredibly shy person. Like outside of home in school, I would never raise my hand, and even if I would just say the weirdest things because I didn't know how to speak up in front of people. And whenever we had presentations, I would literally quake in my boots because I was so nervous. But then um after taking that type of perspective of being shy and changing it to something where you could become better, because as you said before, only females only speak up if they know that they're 100% right, which I definitely agree with because often we're too shy with what we're saying, so trying to break that type of fear and trying to channel that into becoming a better person. And also with what you said about how to the practice of saying no to things, I definitely agree with that as well because I'm someone who always has to make sure that everyone else around me is okay. I'm a people pleaser. So,
Mhm.
just keep your limits and just know what your boundaries are.
Yeah, exactly. And many of us are like that. And these are not easy things to do if by nature you're like that. You have to fight against your nature. I even, up to this year, I will give you an example. There was a summit in San Francisco and they invited me to attend. It was an industry summit and I would know nobody. I would have to drive to get there in the morning, would know no one there, would have to mingle with people. It is my worst nightmare. I'm not an extrovert, but I said, okay, you have to push yourself, just step out of your comfort zone, just go there, enjoy. And it was a very productive. I learned a lot of things. I met new people and I don't regret it a minute for doing that. I just had to convince myself to just take that step and do it. Yeah, so we have to fight and try to do that. It's not always easy though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really not that easy because, as you said, it's kind of fighting your nature. So, you could do it, guys. Yeah. And my next question for you is what are the best resources slash books that have helped you find your career path?
For my career path, the research side, it was starting from as a student or PhD student, books. I'm a strong believer in books to get the fundamentals, as I said, and then lots of papers. And lately, for the newer advances, I'm still reading papers to catch up what is being done, watching videos and tutorials and things like that. I do try to attend conferences whenever my schedule allows. This is really nice because we also get to network a bit. Um, and yeah, it's hard to keep up, but I'm trying. So I would say it's a combination of many different things, and thankfully we have so much information. I think the hardest part nowadays is to filter out what is a good source of information, just because there is so much out there. So sometimes some of the tutorials I've seen that guide step by step how to do this. Some of them are wrong, so they're teaching the wrong way. So you have to be. I would say for the things that have been established, start with books, and then go to reputable sources online if you're going to follow online sources. Now, for the teaching part of my career, I do try. Our university offers a lot of professional development seminars on good pedagogies, modern ways of teaching, alternative ways of teaching. When we had to turn into online teaching, we did a 6 weeks long seminar on that. So I do keep learning the newest research in what is good and what is better for education purposes. Um, so this is the two things I find as good resources. And then in general, since your podcast, probably the audience might be earlier in their career, maybe still students or early college students, I would say try to network a lot through there are some conferences for STEM that are good opportunities. Of course, there is Grace Hopper, which is for computer science, is national, even international. Uh, Here in Silicon Valley, we have the Silicon Valley Women Engineer conference every year, one day, and we invite both females and males from the area and beyond. We have people who come from different parts of California and other states. And you get to meet and hear from industry leaders, female industry leaders. There's women in data science. So I think every area has their own smaller conferences that are not academic conferences in terms of you have to have a paper to go and present, but they're more networking and seminars. And I think these are good opportunities to network. Other than that, again, as I said, start with books and then be very, very careful in selecting online resources, blogs, videos. Just go with reputable sources, because otherwise you might be learning things wrong.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a lot of resources out there, and you just kind of have to filter out the things that are kind of right because, as you said, you might be learning out the wrong things there, and that'll be pretty regressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what do you think is a vital factor that shaped your career? What was your life before learning it, and what was your life after learning it?
Okay. So I wouldn't say one thing because I've had a lot of twists and turns. So there were some milestones that maybe if I had followed a different path, I would be in a different place right now. So starting from my decision to choose computer science as my major back when it was not popular choice, to leaving my office job for a PhD, and then I don't know, going from in Greece to United States, and then there pursuing a faculty career. I guess that I was thinking about that. I think that the thing that changed things was whenever I was feeling something did not feel right, something was not fulfilling for me, I would change things. So don't be afraid to change things. See if of course, as much as it allows to change your situation and make it better.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that because a lot of
Yeah, I
people,
think that would be the main thing from what we see.
yeah, no, because a lot of people they get really nervous about things that might change and they think that the consequences might veer them off the wrong path. But just knowing that whatever it might be in your journey, you have the power to, kind of change your fate, your destiny, whatever it may be. And it's you have the strength.
Right, right. I mean, it's not the end of the world. The things will turn out okay in the end.
Yes. And because we have some additional time, my last question for you is what's one thing you wish you had known when you began your career path?
Okay. I think some things I've covered. So one thing I didn't cover was, and I think it's very useful whatever your career path is find mentors. Find people who have gone through what you're going maybe and can be your sounding board when you have things, or when you face issues, or when you have to make decisions, when you're unsure. I think that's a very good asset, especially as you begin your career, or even as a student when you don't know what you want to be yet. Finding good mentors is very, very important. So I think this is one thing I think everybody should try to do. And then again, stepping out of my comfort zone sooner rather than later, that I've done, as I said, and maybe network a bit more. So I was shy. I would go to conference and not talk to people. Now I'm pushing myself, and I will go and introduce myself and do that. So I admire people for whom this comes naturally. I'm working on it, but yeah, I think that's another thing that helps a lot. If you network with somebody, there is something in graph in social network analysis that's called the strength of weak links. And this means that people, maybe you're just meeting them, maybe they're part of your network in LinkedIn, but sometime in the future, maybe they will prove useful to you. Maybe they will be the ones who will find it, who will post a job opening, and you will get that job, right? So it's very important to create a good network of connections.
Yeah, no, because as you said right there, because even if you make those connections, you might not realize the importance of it because maybe they might have an internship position or a career place, or maybe it's just a cool chat where you can learn information
Mhm.
from. There's like so many amazing benefits from creating these connections. So definitely step out of your comfort zone and create those.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And before we end off the interview, do you have any last words to the audience?
Okay, that's very heavy. So I guess I'll just reiterate some things I said. Follow your gut, change things if you feel they're not you're not happy with. Step out of your comfort zone. Always keep learning. And I will finish with a quote I had in one of I saw my dean posting at one of our celebrations. It is from Carrie Fisher, the actress, and it says, "Stay afraid, but do it stay afraid, but do it anyway." I think this captures everything that we discussed about today.
Yeah, because regardless of what you might be afraid of, you can definitely do it, even though you might
Exactly.
be afraid.
Yeah, feel don't get. Many of us have imposter syndrome. Try to fight that. You're better than what you think your inner voice tells you. So yeah, definitely step out of the comfort zone and do it anyway.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Magdalene, for being here today. I love this interview, and thank you so much for being here.
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting me and congratulations. I know you've went through your 50 episode mark and that's very exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. Bye. And here are my 3 cents on this episode with Dr. Magdalene. 1. The importance of lifelong learning. She emphasizes the need for continuous learning in the field of computer science. She highlights that technology evolves rapidly and professionals need to stay current with programming languages, neural networks, and large language models. She advises focusing on the fundamentals while keeping up with the changing trends. 2. The reality of being a professor. She debunks the myth that being a professor is primarily about teaching a few hours of lectures. She explains that teaching is only a small part of a professor's responsibilities, preparing for classes, grading assignments, engaging in research, attending conferences, participating in committees, and providing service to the profession are all integral parts of an academic career. 3. The importance of networking and mentorship. She stresses the significance of networking and finding mentors throughout your career. Networking opportunities like attending conferences and seminars can help expand your knowledge and connect with professionals in your field. Having mentors who have gone through similar experiences can provide valuable guidance and support when making career decisions. Thus, that concludes the episode for this week. If you want to know more about how I relate to these amazing topics, then stay tuned for upcoming episodes. A free way to support this show is by leaving it a 5-star rating and a review on the player you are listening to. Let me know what you enjoy about this podcast, as it's a chance to tell me what you love about the show, and it helps others discover it too. Once again, thank you for finding me, and I hope we stay in touch with each other. Tito, you're listening to Arna Sahu, the host of Arna's News. Toodles!